This should be a friendly section. Section 2.5 is on Roman numerals. Just kind of jump into it. A few years ago when I did this lecture, I had written up what I thought was like the best lecture ever. Now as I look back at what I wrote a few years ago, I don't really care for it, so I'm just going to kind of wing this lecture a little bit. So Roman numerals, I think a lot of you are at least familiar with maybe some Roman numerals. Roman numerals can be used to represent natural numbers, but Roman numerals can't be used to write zero, negative numbers, fractions, and decimals. So we're going to learn how to interpret Roman numerals and then write our regular numbers as Roman numerals. And the nice thing about Roman numerals is we don't have zeros, negative numbers, fractions, and decimals. As a matter of fact, I think the largest Roman numeral you could write is like 3,900,999. So the numbers won't even get particularly large. So all Roman numerals that we're going to deal with, and I think any Roman numeral that ever exists, can be written with a combination of 7 different symbols. And I have the symbols written here. The symbol is an I, which looks more like a 1, which is the number 1, a V, which is a 5, an X, which is a 10, an L, which is a 50. I'm just copying down what I have here just so you could just see it twice. C is 100, D is 500, and M is 1000. For most of these numbers other than 1, if you put a bar on top of it, that's going to multiply it by 1000. So a 5, which is a V with a bar on it, is equivalent to 5,000, or 5 times 1,000. A 10 with a bar on it is 10 times 1,000, or 10,000. But an I with a bar on it, it just feels like that should be 1 times 1,000, which would be equal to 1,000. That wouldn't be a Roman numeral because there's already a separate number for 1,000. We're not going to deal at all with Roman numerals that have bars over them. It's just not probably the most important topic to get really too involved. For a lot of the Roman numerals, we can create bigger Roman numerals by making several of those Roman numerals in succession. And we can do that with the I's. If you write 2 I's next to each other, that's going to be 1 plus 1, which is going to be representative of 2. If you write 3 I's next to each other, that's going to be representative of 3. Just like Roman numerals won't allow you to put an I with a bar over it, they won't allow you to write 4 of the same symbol in a row, even though it feels like I should equal 4, it doesn't. There's a slick way they go to write 4. So with the Roman numeral I, you can create the numbers 1, 2, and 3. For 5, they're not going to write in Roman numerals 2 5s next to each other to represent 10. Although when you write 2 Roman numerals next to each other, you generally add those numbers up. But because there's already a separate symbol for 10, we're not going to create a double V ever. We are allowed to create a double X. And if you create a double X, that's 2 10s being added together, which is equal to 20. If you create a triple X, that's 10 plus 10 plus 10, which is 30. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to have a 4 of a kind in a Roman numerals. So XXXX looks like it should equal to 40, but that's not what the Roman numeral of 40 is representative. You're only in Roman numerals ever allowed to do 3 of a kind. You're not allowed to do 4 of a kind. And in some symbols, we don't even do 2 of a kind. We don't do double V's because a double V would be 5 plus 5, and that would be 10. Similarly, we won't do a double L. A double L would be 50 plus 50, which is 100. Because there's already a Roman numeral for 100, we don't represent 100 with a double L. We do it with a C. C is another Roman numeral that we could double up. 2 C's is 2 100s, which is 200s. 3 C's is 3 100ths, which is 300, and we can't do 4 of a kind. We won't do a double D to represent 1,000. 2 D's next to each other feels like it should be 500 plus 500, which is 1,000. But because there's already a Roman numeral for 1,000, we won't do a double D. But we will do double M's. Double M is 1,000 plus 1,000, which is 2,000. Triple M is 1,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000, which is 3,000. We're not allowed to do 4 of a kinds. So a big trick in Roman numerals is what to do when you need 4 of a kind to represent a number. And it turns out the numbers that need 4 of a kinds are numbers that have 4s in them and are 9s in them. And these are the special Roman numerals. And there's essentially, how many special Roman numerals? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 special Roman numerals that I haven't listed on this sheet yet, that maybe I'll try to list in this, I'll list them in this column. There's special Roman numerals that have a smaller number to the left of a larger number. The way Roman numerals are going to represent 4 is with IV. When you write a smaller number, in this case 1, to the left of a bigger number, in case 5, this means to subtract 1 from 5, and instead of writing 4 i's next to each other, we're going to write an I preceded by a V to represent a 4 as a Roman numeral. To represent a 9 as a Roman numeral, we're going to write an I to the left of an X. An I is a 1 and X is a 10, so I have a smaller number written to the left of a larger number. And when you do that with a Roman numeral, that tells you to subtract the smaller number from the largest number. IX is going to be 10 take away 1, which is going to be 9. Another symbol that we're going to need when we get into this section is an X preceding an L. An X preceding an L. X is equal to 10, L is equal to 50. I have a smaller value 10 to the preceding a larger value 50. I'm going to subtract 50 minus 10. This is the Roman numeral that represents 40. If I put an X to the left of a C, this is a smaller number 10 to the left of a larger number 100. This means 100 minus 10, which is 90. If I put a C to the left of a D, this is a smaller number 100 to the left of a larger number 500. This means 500 minus 100, which is 400. And then if I put a C to the left of an M, this is a smaller number 100 less to the left of a larger number 1,000. This means 1,000 minus 100, which is 900. In some sense, from this table right here, I can start to build every single Roman numeral that I can think of, but I don't know that I've done enough that we can actually make that jump from going from this page right here of Roman numeral values to computing any Roman numeral kind of up to 4,000. So let me maybe flash up a different sheet that has a table that contains all of this, and then a few more Roman numerals that aren't on this page, like I don't have a number for 6, 7, 8, I don't have an 11, 12, 13, just to kind of show you how those would be constructed in Roman numerals. So on this sheet, it's going to have every Roman numeral that we're going to, well, not every Roman numeral, it's going to have most of the Roman numerals that we're going to need. So again, we see that a 1 is equal to an I, and I don't get the, when I write it on my computer, the font that I use doesn't write an I like that. It makes it look like a 1. But I'm going to say a 1 is equal to an I. When I'm doing by hand, I'm going to write them as I's. My computer writes them. It's going to write them without the I. So a 2 is equal to 2 I's. A 3 is equal to 3 I's. I mentioned on the last sheet that a 4 was equal to an IV. And I mentioned on the last sheet that a V is equal to 5. Notice the next number in my list is VI. So there's a big difference between IV, compared to VI. These are actually different Roman numerals because the first number, I have a Roman numeral that represents 1 followed by a Roman numeral that represents 5. When the smaller number is written first, you have to subtract the smaller number from the larger number. That means 4. But this compared to VI, the 5 represents 1, the V represents 5, and the I represents 1. And so instead of having the smaller number first and the bigger number second, I have the bigger number or larger number first and the smaller number second. And when that's the case, you actually add the numbers to figure out the Roman numeral. So VI is going to be equal to 6. So that's why I said VII. VI is 6. The next Roman numeral I have is VII, and something like VII, it goes from the biggest value, 5, to 2 smaller values, 1 and 1. And as long as the numbers go from biggest to smallest, you can just add up the individual symbols. You could write what the individual symbols are worth and add up the values to figure out what they're equal to. So VII is going to be 5 plus 1 plus 1, which is 7. VIII is 5 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 8. And then the next Roman numeral IX we had on this last sheet. So it's going to be super important that any Roman numeral that's equal to, that has a 4 or a 9 in its value, it's going to be a Roman numeral that is created with 2 symbols, the smaller symbol first and the larger symbol second. So on this sheet I have all the Roman numerals. We can kind of talk through a few of them. Here's a 10, which is X. Two 10s next to each other are 20. 3 10s next to each other are 30. And XL, when I look at XL, X is the smaller number, which is a 10, followed by L, which is a larger number, which is 50. In a Roman numeral, when you have the smaller number first and the larger number second, you subtract the values to get the equivalence. And so XL is going to be 50 minus 10, which is 40. But skipping over to the one after it, LX, L is equal to 50, X is equal to 10. It's the same 2 Roman numerals, but when the bigger number is written first and the smaller number is written second, to figure out what those Roman numerals are equal to, you add. So I could go through every number on this list, but this seems kind of silly. So let me get into some examples of taking Roman numerals, and I'll say writing them to regular numbers, but our numbers are called Hindu Arabic numbers. So anytime I'm asked to take a Roman numeral and convert it into, essentially I'll say a regular number, I need to know some basic values. And the basic values I need to know, and I won't need all of them for every problem. In fact, I should probably write this on a separate sheet of paper so I don't have to keep writing this 100 times. I'll write it once here and then make a separate sheet of paper with this so I'm not needing to write it 100 times. So when you're asked, if you're given a Roman numeral and you're asked to convert it, it's real easy to do. The first thing I do when I'm asked to convert a Roman numeral is I look for any number that I'm about to write in this second column. Any number that's equal to a 4 and or a 9, or a 40 or a 90 or a 400 or a 900, needs to be kind of grouped together. So when I'm asked to convert a Roman numeral to a regular number, I look at my Roman numeral and I look to see if there's any of these symbols in that exact order. And in this particular problem, if I'm asked to convert XIV to a Roman numeral, I need to keep the IV grouped as a 4. So this XIV that I'm asked to convert to a Roman numeral, I'm going to kind of, in my mind, separate the components. And the components are the X that stands for a number and an IV that stands for a single number. The X represents the number 10. The IV represents the number 4. I'm going to take those numbers and I'm going to add them together, and XIV as a Hindu, Arabic, or regular number is equivalent to 14. If I'm asked to take the Roman numeral CXCVII and write it as a nice Hindu, Arabic number, I look to see if I have any I's before a V. Well, the only I have is after a V, so I don't have one of those. I look for any I that's to the left of an X. Well, to the left of this X is a C. I don't have those. I look for any X to the left of an L. I don't have any L's, so I don't have that. I look for any X's to the left of a C. I do have an X to the left of a C, so let me keep this handy, box these together. I look for any C's to the left of a D. I don't have a D, so I can't have that. I look for any C's to the left of an M. I don't have an M. I can't have that. To convert this Roman numeral to a Hindu Arabic number, I need to give values to each of the numbers that I have written here, and this is the special number that's equal to 90. So the XC, I'm going to give a value of 90, and each of the other Roman numerals, I'm going to give the value that's from this chart. So C is going to take on the value of 100. V is going to take on the value of 5. And each of the I's are going to take on the values of 1s. Now I'm just going to take these numbers and add up the values. And I can do that in my head. 100 plus 90 is 190. Plus 5 was 195, 196, 197. So to convert CXCVII to a Roman numeral, I get the number 197. One more example, then we'll get into the homework problems. So I'm supposed to take the Roman numeral M, CM, ML, XIV, and change it. So first thing I'm going to look for is any I before a V. And as I scan this number, I see an I before a V. I need to keep these joined together. Now I look for any I before an X. There's no I before an X, so I don't worry about that. I look for any X before an L. Well, I do see an X and an L, but it's an X after an L and not before an L, so I'm not going to worry about that. I look for any X's right to the left of a C. I don't see an X to the left of a C. I see an X to the left of an I. I look for a C to the left of a D. I don't see any D, so I don't have to worry about that. I look for a C to the left of an M. I do see that. So these I'm going to keep joined together. And now when I go to figure out what this Roman numeral is as a regular number, I need to get values from my chart for M, CM. Oh, this is a M. Yes, M. I wrote this wrong. This is MCM. I wrote an extra M there. I don't know. I got a little excited there. This should be MCM LXIV, and for whatever reason, I wrote this extra M. I don't need that there. That's not part of the problem. So I need a value for M, a value for CM, a value for this L, a value for this X, and a value for this IV. Again, keeping these together, and those are two symbols that represent one number. So M is equal to 1,000. CM is equal to 900. L is equal to 50. X is equal to 10. And IV is equal to 4. I'm just going to add these up. 1,000 plus 900 is 1,900. Plus 50 is 1,950. Plus 10 gives me a 60. Plus 4 gives me a 64. If you can't add those in your head, you can just, on your calculator, just do like 1,000 plus 900 plus 50 plus 10 plus 4. And this is going to be 1964. That's a Roman numeral, which is the year I was born, for what that's worth. So I'm going to make another copy of this chart because I absolutely going to need it to do the homeworks, and you should probably, you don't have to have this memorized because I'm going to give it to you on the test. But when I'm asked to transform a Roman numeral into I'd like to call them regular numbers, I need to have this chart handy or memorized, and I don't have it memorized, so I'm going to give it to you on the test. Actually, I give you a chart that has even more numbers in it that's supposed to be even more useful. Alright, so I just copied that chart down. Hopefully I didn't make any horrible mistakes. Now I'm going to jump into the homework, and it's such a lovely group of problems. So each one of these problems gives me a Roman numeral and asks me to convert it. So let me go through and walk through number 1 with you, and I won't do number 2. So as I look at number 1, I see C, C, X, L, I. First I look for IVs, there's no V's, no worry about that. Then I look for IX, well I see an X and an I, but there's not an I before an X, I don't need to worry about that. Then I look for XL, I see an XL, so let me keep these together. I look for X before a C, I don't see an X before a C, I don't see any D's and no M's, so that's all I have to do is break these up. Then I need a value for a C, a value for an XL, a value for an I and an I. Each of the C's is equal to 100, so this is going to be 100 for that C, 100 for this C. That XL is equal to 40, and each of these I's is equal to 1. I'm just going to add up those numbers, and when I add up those numbers, I don't need my calculator to do that, I get 242, and that's exactly what I got for an answer for number 1. I'm going to flash up problem 3 and let you give it a go. You should get 447. And I'm going to do problem 4. So for problem 4, the terms that I need to keep grouped for problem 4, I look for an IV. I see an IV, so I'm going to keep it together. I look for an IX. I don't see it. I don't see an XL. I don't see an XC. I do see a CD. I don't see a CM. So when I go to write my number down, for the CD part, I'm going to put 400. For each of the 3 X's, I'm going to put 10. And for the IV part, I'm going to put 4. I'm just going to add those numbers together. 400, 410, 420, 430, 434. My problem 4 is equal to 434. Again, your problem 3, in case you want to double check it, is equal to 447. So these are super friendly problems. Let's look at 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and maybe I'll do 5 with you real quickly. So for 5, first thing I look for is an I before a V. Well, I see an I after a V, that's not an I before a V. I look for an I before an X, and there's no I's to the left of an X. I look for an X before an L. There's an X after an L, but that's not an X before an L. That's no worry. I don't see any C's, D's, or M's. There's no numbers or letters I need to keep boxed up together because there's no letters from this right-hand column. So as I go to do number 5, I'm going to write each number down separately, and I'll come up with a value for each from this column. The L is equal to 50. Each of the X's are equal to 10. The V is equal to 5, and the I is equal to 1. 50, 60, 70, 80, 85, 86. I think number 5 should be equal to 86. And on my key it does. You can give number 7 a try. It's 123. I'm moving down and do 8. When I go to do 8, I look for, I don't have to worry about it. I look for an I before an X. I see an I after an X, but not before it, so that's no good. I look for an X before an L. There's no L, so I don't worry about it. I see an X after a C, but not before a C. I don't worry about it. There's no D's and no M's. So when I go to do problem 8, I'm just going to take each of the numbers or numerals, write them separately, write down values for each, and add up those values together. And the adding for me is so easy, I don't need to use my calculator, but I hardly care if you use your calculator. My number 8 is going to add up to 131. your number 7, you should get 123 for it. I think I wrote way more problems than we actually need for these, but I'll deal with it. Let's look at, I'll do 9 with you, and then you can worry about 11 here in a second. Or you can pause the video if you want. So as I look through number 9, there's no V, so there's no IV. There is an IX, so I need to worry about it. I keep those together. And the next thing I'm looking for is XL. I need to keep those together. I'm done with the numerals. I've got everything boxed out. So I need to keep the X and the L together. I need to keep the I, the X together like that. The XL symbol is equal to 40. The IX symbol is equal to 9. I'm going to add those two numbers together when I do number 9. And the answer to number 9 should be 49. Again, it's always helpful if I check. Your 11 is supposed to be 616. Because I don't see any 4s and I don't see any 9s, every symbol should be just separated. Let me do 11. I don't see, I'm looking for an IV, I see a VI. I don't see an I before an X. I don't see any L's. I don't see an X before a C. I see a DC, but not a C before a D. I don't see any M's. So I'm going to separate each one. Well, I guess I'm doing your number 11. Doing D, C, X, V, and I. The D is equal to 500. The C is equal to 100. The X is equal to 10. The V is equal to 5. And the I is equal to 1. Again, if you can't add these, I hardly care. I could never tell if you didn't use your if you use your calculator. So this is 500 plus 100 plus 10 plus 5 plus 1. And I get 616 as the answer to number 11. I already flashed that up. That is the correct answer. The nice thing is, this is the hard direction. The next direction is actually easier. So 13 and 14 come next. I don't know why I have these separated on one sheet. And as you go through 13, look for anything that needs to be boxed together. I'll go down and do 14. The only thing I see in 14 I need to contend with is that IX. When I go to do 14, each of the first 3 X's I'm just going to find values for, which are 10 apiece. And the IX is equal to 9. 14 is equal to 39. When you get your answer for 13, I'm hoping you're going to get 34 for number 13. Way too many problems as near as I can tell. So give 15 a go. I'll do 16 and 17 on this page. For my problem 16, I see an XC, which is one of the 2 paired numbers that I need to worry about, and I see an IV. So when I go to do my number 16, I get a value for XC, I get a value for IV. XC is equal to 90, IV is equal to 4. 16 is going to be equal to 94. Your 15, I believe, is equal to 99. And in a minute, I'm going to do 17 and try to get 1930. For 17, I don't see any V's or I's, so I don't have to worry about the first 2. I don't see any L's, so I don't need to worry about the third one. I don't see the X to the left of a C. I don't see a D. I do see a C to the left of an M, so I'm going to keep those together. And I'm going to figure out numbers for M, CM, and then each of the 3 X's. The M is equal to 1,000. The CM is equal to 900. And each of the X's is equal to 10. I can add those up without my calculator, and if I added those up, I believe I get 1930, which is the correct answer. Alright, so once you give 19 a go, I'll do 20 and 21 on this page. When you're doing 19, there's 2 sets of groupings that you're going to need to worry about. You're going to have to group the C and the M together, because that's the last thing on my list, and you're going to need to group the I and the V together. The other numerals can be separated. When I go to do number 20, I need to keep the C and the M together, and I need to keep the X and the C together. And then everything else can be separated. So for 20, I'm going to have an M, a CM, an XC, and a V. Each of the M's is equal to 1,000. The CM is equal to 900. The XC is equal to 90. And the V is equal to 5. That's 2,995 if I add those up together. For problem 19, this is 1,000, 2,904. You should get 2,904 for number 19. Let me do 21 with you. For 21, MMX, not a deal. This IV is the top part of that column, and it's the only thing from that column in problem 21. So I'm going to go M, M, X, and IV. Each of the M's is equal to 1,000. The X is equal to 10, and the IV is equal to 4. So it's 1,000, 2,014, but let me just do those real quickly in case you can't. So 1,000 plus 1,000 plus 10 plus 4. I get 2,014 for number 21. And that's exactly what it is. So just two more problems, or three more problems. I think I've overkilled these. So let's just finish up this sheet here, and we'll skip problems 27 and 28 real quickly. So you do 23, I'll do 24. For 24, I have to box the CM because it's in my right column. I have to box the XL because it's a two-digit pair in my right column. Don't have to do any of the other ones because they're not exactly the two paired numbers. My CM in 24 is going to be 900. My XL is going to be 40. My V is going to be 5. And each of the I's are going to be 1. This is going to be 947. I'll do your 25 and then we'll move on to go in the other direction. For 25, I look for IV. I see a VI, not an IV. I don't see an IX. I do see an XL. So in problem 25, you need to keep the XL together. I see a DC, which is not equal to a CD. I don't worry about it, and I don't see any CM. So for problem 25, we're going to have a D, a C, an XL, and then a V, an I, and an I. The D is 500. The C is 100. The XL is equal to 40. The V is equal to 5, and each of the I's are equal to 1. So this is 500 plus 100 is 600, plus 40, 640, 645, 646, 647. I can add these so easily without my calculator that I generally don't use my calculator. So give 23 a go. If you really feel the urge, go ahead and do 27 as well, but you don't have to do 27 if you want to skip it. All right, so this is going to be a handy table to have going in this direction. On the test, I give you a bigger table. The table that we're going to get on the test is going to be this table, and every number that's in this in these two columns are in this table. There's the 1, 5, 4, 9. It's going to be important when you get this table on the test, to pay special attention to these Roman numerals that are equal to 4s and 9s. That's the right-hand column. And then all the other numbers are buried in it as well. I just didn't want to make up multiple tables. So this is going to be the table that you're going to get on the test. It has this table in it, just kind of, and more. The reason I do the and more is it's because it makes it a lot easier to go the other direction. And let me do an example. One example, and then I'll teach you how to go to the other direction. It's so easy. So if I wanted to take the number 278 and write it as a Roman numeral, I'm going to break it up into its hundreds, tens, and ones. So 278 equals 200 plus 70. The hundreds are 200s, the tens are 70s, plus 8. And on this lovely table I'm going to give you on the test, every number that we're going to see here is going to have a Roman numeral that applies to it. The 200, I'm going to change to a CC. The 70, I'm going to change to an LXX. And the 8, I'm going to change to a VIII. 278 as a Roman numeral is CCLXXVIII, and that's all we're going to have to do. I'm going to give you this table, and when we're asked to break a Roman numeral up or asked to create a Roman numeral, it's going to be super, super easy because everything you need is going to be in this table. Once you take the number and break it up into its component pieces, the tens, the hundreds, the ones, the thousands, if there's thousands, we'll just go through the table. So if I was asked to do problem 29, 53 only has tens and ones. Its tens are 50. Its ones are 3. Let me figure out a Roman numeral that's equal to 50. That's L. And then I'm going to find a Roman numeral that's equal to 3. That's III. The Roman numeral for 29, for the Roman numeral for 53 is LIII. Exactly what I have for my answer here. When you're going to do 31, you're going to break this up into 10 plus 8 because there's a 10 in the tens position and an 8 in the ones position. The 10 is equal to X. The 8 is equal to VIII. The Roman numeral for 18 is XVIII. Pause the video if you want and give 33 a go. For 33, this is 100 plus 20 plus 5. The Roman numeral for 100 in my chart is a C. The Roman numeral for 20 in my chart is an XX. The Roman numeral for 5 is a V. So 125 is going to be CXXV, and that's exactly what my key has on it. So these are intended to be really nice. In some sense, I'm dumbing this down just because it's not that important. I can't see a need in your life to do Roman numerals, so I try to make it as easy as I can. So let's work on, I'll do 34. 131 is 100 plus 30 plus 1. 100 is equal to C. 30 is equal to XXX. And 1 is equal to the I. Your 35 should have an answer 3 C's XVI. I'll do 37 with you. 37 is 10 plus 9. The 10 is an X. The 9 is an IX. So for 37, should be XIX. And again, I should always be checking. So 37 is my XIX. I don't know why I have so many problems. Ugh. I'll do 38. 38 is 29, which is 20 plus 9. 20 is XX. 9 is IX. So this is going to be XXIX. For your 39, should be XXXIV. And then I'll do 41 with you. 41, I think of this as 40 plus 9. The 40 is XL. The 9 is IX. So 49 is going to be XLIX. I'll do 44 and 45 on this page. You can try to give 43 a go. For 43, you should get XLVII. For 44, I'm going to think of this as 40 plus 8. 40 is XL. 8 is V with 3 I's. So 48 is going to be XLVIII. 45, I'm going to think of it as 90 plus 5. The 90 I'm going to write as XC. The 5 I'm going to write as V, so 45 is going to be XCV. Just in case, there's my 45 XCV, and there's your 43 XLVII. I'll do 48 and 49. You can try 47 if you want. 48 is 400 plus 40 plus 6. 400 is CD. 40 is XL. And 6 is VI. So 48 is going to be CD, XL, VI. 49 is 900 plus 50 plus 1. 900 is CM. 50 is L. And 1 is I. So 49, the answer should be CMLI. And I can check it, it's CMLI. Your 47 was supposed to be CD triple XII. Way too many problems. Let me do 52 and 53 on this page. 52 is 900 plus 40 plus 1. 900 is CM. 40 is XL. And 1 is I. 53, it's 1000 plus 900 plus 50, and there's no 1s to worry about. 1000 is an M. 900 is a CM. And 50 is an L. So that should be MCML for 53. And beautiful MCML. 51, you should have gotten CMXLVII. The CM is the 900, the XL is the 40, and the VII is the 8. All right, you can do 55. I'll do 56 and 57. 56, this is 1000 plus 900 plus 90 plus 9. 1000 is an M, 900 is a CM, 90 is an XC, and 9 is an IX. For 57, this is 2000. There's no hundreds. 16 is 10 plus 6, so it's going to be plus 10 plus 6, so there's no hundreds. So there's a 2000s, 0 hundreds, 110, and 16. The 2000 is a double M. The X is a single 10, or the 10 is a single X, and the 6 is a VI. So for 57, I should get MMXVI, which I perfectly do. And your problem 55, which should have been MCMXCIV. The M is 1000, the CM is the 900, the XC is the 90, and the IV is the 4. So one more problem of yours to do. I might as well just do it with you so we can just be done with the section. So for 59, if you pause the video, it would be great. If not, you can just watch. It's 2000. There's no 100s. 20 and 4. For 2000, that's a double M. For 20, that's a double X. And for 4, it's an IV. So that's everything you need for the Roman numerals. We need to be able to go both directions. And you're going to be given exactly this table. And the other direction, creating a Roman numeral is easier from this table than taking a Roman numeral and transferring it back to a regular number. But you're going to be given everything you need. You don't have to have this table memorized. You just have to know how to use it.